Welcome into another episode of NA Now. I'm Brandon Hofstra, joined by El Paso Rhinos head coach Joe Coombs. Thanks for making the trip up here to old Dallas, Texas, something you're very familiar with.
Yeah, I've lived in Dallas. Well, not lived in Dallas, but lived in Texas. I think this is my fourth time, moving to Texas. So, yeah, well, we're going to make another go over.
Yeah, you probably got a cowboy hat and all that stuff.
You know what? I got to reinvest in the cowboy hat and the boots, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen.
I'll get you a bolo tie with the NA logo.
Yeah, part-time cowboy.
There we go.
Full-time hockey coach.
Love that. And first off, congratulations on the new gig down in El Paso.
Thank you.
How juiced up are you ready to get things going down there?
Really juiced, to be honest with you. It's nice to get started. Obviously it's a second-year program, but the gentlemen down there that I work with and work for are. They're extremely invested, and so am I, and I'm looking forward to, more than looking forward to getting started. It's we're going to build something there, I think, that's really special, so definitely. I'm glad to be a part of it.
It's good having the help of a 3HL team right there, too, where you can kind of have a pool of players to look into and kind of go off of that as well, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But talk about going from the Rebels now to El Paso and some things you're looking to change with the Rhinos going forward.
The big thing was, the last 3 years between COVID and all that other, we've had to basically form our teams from zero for 3 consecutive years. And, this would basically be year 4, having to somewhat start from scratch. And there's a group of players down there that we started out with that, I wanted to make sure that they understood the slate was clean. Mm-hmm. And I didn't spend any time watching video. I wanted to see them at camp and meet them as people, most importantly. We did that. So we certainly have a starting point. But the culture, obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, I think obviously, but they're a very successful program, mm-hmm. and they weren't successful last year. Mm-hmm. And I think that retains a little bit the culture. We've made some changes in that regard, and kept the ones we felt were worth keeping. So I'm really excited.
Let's talk about, like you said, kind of the slate clean. You come in, NHL draft was a few months ago. You're no stranger to drafts. Talk about some pillars that you were looking for to kind of build in this team going into 2022-23.
The North American League, it's such a unique league because we're walking such a fine line with how to be successful. And that was really sort of the target of, trying to acquire. We had some tenders that we thought that we did a nice job with some of our depth. At that time, it's pretty late, leading up to the draft, and then the draft we went after those higher guys, that the more skilled players that hopefully will be in our top 6, and now we need them. The ones we did draft made other teams, so we're going to need them to fall, but that's okay. The great part about any season is they don't hand out any trophies in September. Right. And as long as our players buy into that and understand that it's about getting better every day and being the best when it matters most, mm-hmm. We'll be just fine.
Definitely. Let's talk about September. Obviously, the season will kick off here shortly. You've got to be just chomping at the bit to get things going, but you've been around the league, like I mentioned, but just talk about the importance of this showcase coming up for these players with all these scouts all around, and then top prospects tournament, obviously, later on in the season.
Here's what I've figured out. It is hugely, and I mean hugely, important for the players. It's not important for us.
Right.
And that's where I think you see a lot of nervousness around the league and mm-hmm. coaches, and everybody's in one spot and everybody wants to be good, and at the end of the day, it don't matter. But for the players, it does. Mm-hmm. Those players have an opportunity to play in front of every NHL team, every college team at both the Division I and Division III levels. And they got to get off to a good start. Because if you're good there, they'll track you all year. You'll have lots of attention throughout your winter. If you don't, then it's up to us as a coaching staff to call those guys and say, hey, this kid's playing really well. Mm-hmm. You need to look at him. So from the players' perspective, it is really, really important. It's a wonderful event. But from a team's perspective, it's quite irrelevant, quite honestly. I mean, I've gone 4-1, 4-0 and 1-3 and 0-4, and at the end of the day, I didn't leave there one way or the other. I just left. So it's a great event. But last year I think we were 3-1. How we were 3-1, I'll never know. But we won one game and lost a game every weekend for the rest of the year until we won 10 straight.
Right.
So 10 straight was fun, but made our record look really good at the end. But at the end, we were still. It took us that long to really figure it out and get going. And I learned a lot last year, and I'm really looking at some of that patience and the building aspect of a team and implementing into this year, because I really truly had a much more patient approach last year, knowing that it's our third year starting from scratch, and here we go, and so we're not there this year. We're well ahead of that curve with the returning players, and I mean there's a couple of kids, Nick Justice and Bo Cosman, that I think are going to be really good players for us, along with some others that have the ability to lead and lead in the right direction. So I'm pretty excited.
Definitely. Well, Joe, appreciate your time, and good luck this season down in El Paso. We'll be rooting for you.
Wonderful.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.